The Democrat rule in Democrat-run cities, Democrat-run states, and a Democrat-run federal government, the criminals have been given free rein more than ever before. There's never been a time like this. Our streets are riddled with needles and soaked with the blood of innocent victims. Many of our once great cities, from New York to Chicago to LA, where the middle class used to flock to live the American dream, are now war zones, literal war zones. Every day there are stabbings, rapes, murders, and violent assaults of every kind imaginable. Bloody turf wars rage without mercy. Parents are worried sick that their kids will get shot on the way to school or on the way back home. Sadists who prey on children are released on bail, but there is no bail and there is no bond. Unique, never happened before. Drugged out lunatics attacked innocent victims at random. Roving mobs of thieves walk into the stores and walk out with whatever merchandise they can carry. They're left alone. Nobody tells them, don't do this, put it back now. Homeless encampments are taking over every public park and every patch of green space in previously beautiful urban centers, and the dangerously deranged roam our streets with impunity. We're living in such a different country for one primary reason: there is no longer respect for the law, and there certainly is no order. Our country is now a cesspool of crime. We have blood, death, and suffering on a scale once unthinkable because of the Democrat Party's effort to destroy and dismantle law enforcement all throughout America. It has to stop, and it has to stop now. In Philadelphia last month, a 73-year-old man was walking along the street when he was approached by a band of 7 teenagers who attacked him for sport and beat him to death with a traffic cone. Beat him like you've never seen anyone beaten before, laughing as they bludgeoned the life from their helpless victim, cackling as they left his body on the side of the road, dead. In New York, a 35-year-old woman was stalked back to her building by a homeless career criminal. He slipped into her apartment as she opened the door, stabbed her repeatedly as she screamed for help, and left her bleeding to death in her own bathtub. Previously, that man had been arrested and released more than half a dozen times. Here in Washington, D.C., just a few weeks ago, a hardworking landscaper made the horrible mistake, had the misfortune to blow a few blades of grass into a sitting car, and he was bludgeoned, absolutely bludgeoned and shot cold blood at a point-blank range, leaving behind a grieving wife and 2 children. He was a good man. Everybody loved him. There's so many stories, I could fill a whole speech with them. I could go on with these stories for months and years. A pregnant woman murdered outside her home as she unloaded the gifts from her baby shower. A young girl struck in the head with a bullet while driving her family on her 12th birthday. A 61-year-old woman burglarized, raped, murdered, and set on fire in her home. A 70-year-old woman and a 38-year-old daughter viciously stabbed to death by a man who had been arrested for felony arson just 8 days prior and was immediately released. Just last Saturday, a man was struck by a car while crossing the street in New York, and the driver pulled over and robbed him as he lay unconscious, struggling for his life. You probably saw that. So last night, he was so badly hurt, he was unconscious, and he was robbed by the person that hit him, the car. All on tape. Some of these chilling stories are difficult to hear, but the American people need to hear them, and you have to hear them, especially the politicians in the audience, that are going to give us the power to bring our country back and to make our country safe. Murder in our country is up 51%. We must never allow ourselves to grow numb to the violence that is tearing apart the fabric of our nation. It's time to have the courage to say what needs to be said and to do what needs to be done to keep America safe. We've never had a time like this. We've never had anything close to what's happening right now. We owe it to the victims, we owe it to our families, and we owe it to our country to do the right thing. In the Make America Great Again movement, we believe that every citizen of every background should be able to walk anywhere in this nation at any hour of the day without even a thought of being victimized by violent crime. If we don't have safety, we don't have freedom, we don't have a country. America first must mean safety first. We have to have safety. Starting with our new majorities in Congress next year and continuing on to the next Republican president, we need an all-out effort to defeat violent crime in America and strongly defeat it and be tough and be nasty and be mean if we have to.